Well, Sierra is a mom, but she's also Mrs. Claus. You've got to hear the story of how she is bringing such joy to sensory affected kids, kids with disabilities. She and her husband truly are turning into Santa and Mrs. Claus. I heard the most beautiful story about you and your husband and what you do for kids, especially during the holiday season. But could we go back a
Mhm.
little bit and learn a little bit about your story and then kind of move it up to present day and how you've turned something really hard into something beautiful for other families?
Yeah, absolutely. So a little bit about us. We've been wanting a baby for a very long time, and it we learned that it was going to be a lot harder for us to have kids. So we had to go through a lot to have them. When we finally got pregnant, we were pregnant with two beautiful babies, and my son, who has cerebral palsy, he was not he was not digging being inside with his sister. So he was out at 27 weeks. He was
Wow.
very adamant. He was like, I am not staying in here any longer. Um, and which is on theme. If you've ever met him, he is an absolute dream, but he is very theatrical.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
He had to come in guns a-blazing. He was so great. He had a grade 4 brain hemorrhage on the right side and a grade 3 on the left. And he was in the NICU, and our doctors were telling us that he wasn't going to make it. They were saying that he was going to pass away, and that we should say our goodbyes. And we were we were spending a lot more time with him. At that time, our daughter passed away. She caught a very uncurable disease, and she she passed. And so we were dealing with that, but then we just started kind of head on into him. So, we dived into everything he was doing. And he surprised all of the doctors. I mean, they'd come to us and be like, we don't know what's happening. We have no idea how he's still here. We have no idea how he's healing. We're just confused. And we were so blessed and thankful. And we just praised God like every day because he was doing much better than anyone ever thought he was going
Mhm,
to do.
mhm.
Um, when he got out, we had a bit of a rough time finding therapy for him. Because it's hard to find therapy. That is no joke. It's really hard. And after a year, we finally found this one place. It's called Tier Memorial,
We know it
which
well.
is,
Yep.
yes, they are wonderful. They took him on, and he was doing three different therapies. So he was doing physical, speech, and occupational. And he um, did not like it in the beginning. So the first year was really rough, but he was starting to really like get better. Um, and it came to Christmas time, and we were his therapist who runs the Christmas that I think you probably heard it was the Sensory Safe Santa.
Yes, yes.
So they were worried because the Santa that they had the year before had passed away, and they were looking for a new Santa. Well, Santas are really expensive. I don't if you've ever looked into like renting a Santa, they run from like 300 to like $600 an hour,
Wow.
which is which is crazy. So my mom, who takes him most of the time, me and my husband are both full-time employees. We work 40-hour jobs, so it's
God
my mom
bless your
takes him to
mom.
therapy.
God bless
Yes,
mom,
yes.
right?
She is a godsend. She is I we could not do this without her. She is wonderful. And she told his therapist, she was like, well, his mom and dad, my son, his mom and dad, they do Santa and Mrs. Claus. And we've done it a couple of years before that, just like at our hometown's Christmas market. So we would just do Santa and Mrs. Claus there. And, the kids loved it. And she told them about that. And they were like, "Oh, well, do you think they would do that?" And my mom called me and she's like, "Would you be Santa and Mrs. Claus?" I go, "Mom, really? Do you even have to ask? It's my favorite thing to do. Um, so we were like, yeah, absolutely. And they asked us, I think once if we wanted to be paid. And I was like, no, you've make my son walk. You're teaching him how to walk. You're getting him in a position to where he doesn't need to be in a wheelchair. Why would I not donate my time? Why wouldn't my husband not donate his time? And so last year we did a small little um, fundraiser and we got some stuff for goodie bags and it was really fun and the kids really loved it. And this year I had a lot of time to plan. And so in January, because I'm a planner, I'm a big planner, I have to be. I was like, okay, well, we're going to do a toy drive this year for sensory safe toy, like sensory toys to help them with therapies. And so that's what we're going to do. My husband was like, whatever you want to do, I am on board. I am your hero. He's great. And
So good.
he he helped me get toys. And when we thought we were going to be short on toys, and I told him, I was like, I don't think we're going to get enough toys. And I was really like sad and upset about it. And he was like, don't worry. He goes, we'll just buy them. Like, and so he took our money and he was like, here, this is the money we've saved. Go buy the toys. And then if people donate cash, great. Then we'll use that to get more toys. And so we were able to get enough toys, obviously. People started donating and giving us more toys. And I was like, oh, and it was great. We did
That's
just
amazing.
yeah, I think yeah, it was I love doing that stuff. It gets bigger every year. Um, this year we had 14 kids and it was awesome. They were so happy. They were it was really cute. The first little boy that came and saw us was well, other than my son, was probably the cutest. My son's always the cutest. But the first little boy, he came in, he looked at my husband, he's in full Santa, and
Right.
he has the actual beard. It's not fake. It's like it's his. And he goes like just like shell shocked, and he walks right up to him, gives him a big hug, and he kisses his cheek, and then he whispers in his ear, "You're my favorite person." And my husband was almost in tears. He was like, "That was the sweetest little that it just." He's like, "That makes everything worth it." Like no matter how much money we spend on the outfits and the toys and the stuff we do, he's like, that right there was payment back enough.
Yeah.
And our son got to see him. We think he recognized him as dad, but he kept saying ho ho ho. So you never know.
Isn't that
Probably thought he was Santa.
now? Is this all at tier? These are the kids that are at tier
Yes.
now.
Yes. So
Wow.
these are all the tier kids. It's typically closed to so we do the tier woodlands. We live a decent ways away, but that's the closest one. So we don't mind driving all the way into the woodlands.
Sure.
Um, and so this one is just open for the tier woodlands. But I'm hoping that maybe next year we can donate a little more time to other ones if they need it. They were talking about expanding maybe a little bit. So we'll see. I would love it if they did because we just get a portion of these kids. And I don't know. I can just think about if I couldn't take my son to see Santa, like at the mall. So I can't take Easton to go see Santa because the malls are so busy and loud, and those lines are so long, and there's nothing to do in them. So he gets overstimulated. He gets very easily, like, he's like done very quickly because there's nothing he can do. And then he doesn't want to sit on the stranger's lap instantly.
Right. He needs
Um,
to get to know him a little bit and feel
he
comfortable.
needs, yeah, he needs to warm up.
But a
And
lot of kids are
so,
like that too. I mean, really.
and yeah, honestly, and it's really tough for it's tough for normal kids. So when
Right.
you put this, the fact that these kids have some sensory issues where they can't do loud noises or they don't want to touch Santa because his suit's velvety or the lights are too bright or the music's too loud. Um, when you add all of that together, it makes it almost impossible. And some parents with kids with sensory issues and disabilities just choose not to do it. And that's my favorite thing is getting a picture with Santa with my son. And because it's one of the few things that we look forward to that he can do that's, for lack of a better word, normal. I can't find a better word.
Right.
He's not
Right.
not normal, but he has a disability. And so there's a lot of things we won't ever be able to do with him. So like sports we won't be able to do. I mean, well, maybe, who knows? I mean, he surprises us every day.
Right. Right.
So maybe one day he'll be able to do sports. But I mean, and so these are like the little things that make it to where he can do this because we're able to give these kids that area. And to explain the process a little bit, so we're sitting in a room with maybe just a couple adults, a couple media people are there, but they're like off to the side and they don't interact, and the kids don't really like, there's a ton of room. And then their therapists are there. So it's just us, the therapist, their parents, and the kid, the one kid. And they come in one at a time.
Ah.
And and we get 10 minutes with them. So there's 10 minutes to warm up. Sometimes we go over, sometimes we don't, but it just depends on each kid. Some kids warm up instantly and they're there and they're out. And then some kids are very like, I'm not going near you. So you have to kind of like coax them over and like be very gentle and go, would you like to like sit on Santa's lap? Do you want to give us a high five? Very slow process to introducing them to Santa. So it's not all of a sudden, here, put him on the lap, take a picture while you're screaming, and then let's go. It's
Right.
you get to go meet Santa. Maybe you get to warm up to him, and mom and dad get a very calm picture. Um, Sometimes we're on the floor. Sometimes me and Josh are sitting on the floor with the kids because they just don't want to sit with Santa. This one little boy, he did not want to get close to Santa. And I think it's a starstruck kind of feeling because when little ones see Santa, it's like, okay, I don't want to do anything wrong
I know.
because
I
I
know.
might not get toys. And so he, so I moved over to sit by him, and Santa moved closer to me. So there was me between Santa and the kid. And we just sat there and we just talked, and mom and dad got some pictures. And it's those little moments where it's like, this is why we do it, so that the kids get a chance to meet Santa without the trauma of being rushed through Santa, and the parents get to see their kids smiling because they get to see Santa. It's just it it warms my heart. It really does because I couldn't imagine not being able to get pictures of my son with Santa, even if Santa is his
Right.
dad.
Your husband.
Yeah.
What's your son's
Um,
name?
Easton.
Easton. So now, Easton, obviously a gift to you because maybe you were involved in the hustle and bustle of life, and then Easton comes along and you need to slow down, right?
Yes. Yes. He has made us kind of look at everything differently, and everything is just a lot quieter.
Yeah.
And we do a lot of things to cater towards what he needs. So, um, where we would typically like a small thing, so like grocery shopping, where we would typically go and we would go during a busier time. We actively look for non-busy times, both for Easton and me. I don't like busy places. I can't do them. But Easton's even worse because he gets really really overwhelmed. And he, so we try to do everything with how he likes things.
Right.
So if he needs a place to be quiet, our place is dead quiet. And we give him that opening. Now there's sometimes where it's like, no, we have to do the loud noises for a little bit, but for the most part, he just lets us breathe. There are days where he does not let us breathe, where he is screaming and there's nothing you can do but sit with him.
Mhm.
And he 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 likes it when you sit with him. There's a lot of times where it's no longer us time, me and my husband time, or me time, or him time. It's Easton time.
Right.
It's the time we get to spend with him.
What would you say to parents who do not have a child who's got these difficulties? You see stories about, a not very nice person at the grocery store judging you or things like that. What would you say? Because this is a good time of the year where our hearts are a
Mm-hmm.
little more sensitive to others. And it's just
Yeah.
that joyful time of the year, right? And we want to be kind and do the right thing. So what would you say to parents who do not have a special needs child to kind of make us aware, so we could
Yeah.
be a little more empathetic?
So, um, screaming. They scream a lot. So if you see a kid screaming, I would just try to ignore it because if it is a kid with a disability, they can't help it. My son has a hard time communicating with words, so he screams, and he'll scream bloody murder in a store, and he'll be hitting himself, and we'll have to stop in the middle of an aisle and be just take up every spot, like take up the whole thing to try to calm him down. And it's embarrassing because people are watching you and you think they're judging you. So just try not to judge like the parents that you see that are just stopped in the middle of an aisle trying to calm a kid down, or if their kid's on the floor. So I know that I've had to put my son, Easton crawls. He can't really walk yet. I mean, he walks with his walker, but he can't walk unassisted. So sometimes we have to sit him on the ground to calm down. And we'll sit with him in the middle of a store. And I know people are looking at me like, why are you sitting your son on the dirty floor? Why are y'all sitting there? And it's like, well, no, I have to sit here because otherwise everyone's going to hear the absolute blood curdling scream. And I'm not taking him outside in the cold to
Right.
deal with his temper tantrum. I have to deal with it there. And that's what I would say is the most important is just be patient and be calm. And just if you see a parent sitting on the floor, just be patient with them.
And just really, I mean, it's kind of out of ignorance if you don't realize that this child is unable to communicate and he's having a bad moment, and give some grace to the parents. My Lord, you've got to deal with this all the time. You
Yeah.
know your child, right?
Yes. Yeah. And that's another thing is like um I would say don't go up to the parent and say, "Oh, well, you should do this." Like that is
Right. No,
don't do that because it I because I
I'll
haven't
slap
had that
you.
happen. Yeah. I haven't had that happen yet, but I think it's because I have the face of do not come to me and
Right,
tell me how to
right.
parent him. But I've seen that happen a few times. Like, don't tell me how to parent him. I mean, right now this is what we have to do. I'm sorry that I'm a bit of an inconvenience for everybody, but he's our main focus. And I could honestly care less if I'm an inconvenience to you right now.
You are just the most beautiful Mrs. Claus. Obviously, your
Thank
son
you.
is your gift, your angel that God has
Yes.
given you to take care of, and teaches you and your husband so much, and all the people around you. And the gift that you're giving to these other kids and their families is beautiful, Sierra.
We love it. And we love we love every part of it. We look forward to it the whole year. We always add something to Santa's suit, like to the outfits. Um, if you ever want to look it up, I don't Well, I don't think there's any pictures this year yet. I'm not sure.
You have to
But
send them to us so we can get them up on our
yeah,
Instagram.
I will. I'll send you some. So last year, his Santa suit wasn't like a very fancy one. It was just one that we've had for a while. And then this year we were able to buy him a little of a better Santa suit. So we upgraded Santa. And next year, what we're doing is we're upgrading Mrs. Claus. So we add something new every year so that eventually, I told my husband, eventually, when we're like 62 or 80 years old, when all of our hairs
You'll be
turn
legit.
gray,
Yeah.
I go, we'll have such good Santa and Mrs. Claus outfits that there's just no question about it that, oh my gosh, you are Santa.
I
We
mean,
we did have one kid come up to him. We were we had to go grocery shopping after the event. So we went to Target and we were in Santa and Mrs. Claus. We had one kid follow him around that was like fake Santa. And he was so upset. He was like, "Do I not look real?" And I go, "No, you look very real. They're just that's kids are like that sometimes." I
right.
go, "Don't worry. When we're 60 and 80 years old, you will look so much like Santa that they're going to look at you and they're going to be so kind and so polite. Like
Just like the
any of
Santa
us going to be,
Claus, like Tim Allen,
yeah,
right?
yeah, like they're gonna just see you and be like, ooh, okay, Santa's here. I have to be on my best behavior.
Right.
Can't do anything. Listen to mom and dad. Got it.
Well,
So yeah,
you definitely are a gift to those families, Sierra. And I know you're gonna, if you're
thank
not
you.
Mrs. Claus yet, you will turn into her. And your
We're
heart
working on
obviously
it.
is already there. The heart is already
Yes.
there.
Oh, it's
And
yes, half full.
what do you get your little guy for Christmas? What's he looking for this year?
Oh man. It's always hard because we try to get a lot of sensory toys.
Right.
I was looking at there's this for his big present, there is this big it's like an inflatable, like a bounce house, right? But it's not like a big one. It's like a for toddlers.
Hmm.
And they sell it at Walmart. And so it's not too expensive. And so I told my husband, I go, we can get him that. And because he likes to slide and he likes to swing and he likes to bounce. And so I'm
Right.
like, let's get him that. That'll be great. And then a lot of his other toys though are a lot of sensory things. He's big into like he's big into spelling and math. So he's 3 and he's spelling words like apple and gargantuan and
Wow.
contraction. And he's a very smart kid.
Very
And
smart.
he's doing like 9 plus 4 is 13 and 5 plus 4 is 9. We're doing all the add and everything. So we're getting him a lot of like math and spelling toys because that's he just likes that,
Yep.
you know.
Yep.
Um, so they're out of his age range, but I'm like, this is what you like to do.
Yeah.
So,
Good job. And I bet mom is making a huge difference too, spending so much
oh,
time with him. I mean, here
yes.
she is now a grandmom because of that precious boy.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
she's going
And
to invest everything she can into him as well.
she does. She does so much for us. So she takes him to all of his therapies.
Hmm.
I'm blessed that my job lets me work from home 2 days a week.
Okay.
And so I get to take him to pre-K 2 days a week. But my mom takes him all of the other times. And she takes him to all of his therapy sessions. And honestly, that's for the better. My mom is such a good like therapy person because she pushes him to do more, even if he doesn't want to.
Good for her.
Whereas me and my husband, me and Josh, we are kind of like, well, no, he doesn't want to do it, so he's not. Well, it's fine.
Right. A little
Let him
too
leave him
coddling
be
with him. Yep.
a
Yep.
little bit, yeah.
Good
But
for
my mom is,
grandmom.
yeah, she's great at it. She's like, no, we are not doing this. We're doing this, and he sometimes he listens, but sometimes he's a 3 year old and he acts like it. But she's the best for his therapies, and my mom's so good at it. She is so good, and she's good at everything. She does so much for us because he has a lot of medical issues. I mean, so she takes care of all of our medical stuff for him. which is like a weight off of my shoulders. So
Right.
I only have to worry about making sure that I do all the normal mom stuff, and my mom does all of like the medical stuff for
Medical
us.
stuff.
She always, checks in with us because she's always worried she's gonna overstep. She never can. She never does. She's real
What's your
good
mom's
about
name?
it.
What's mom's name?
Tina, her
Tina.
name's Tina, and
Well,
she's
you have to give
awesome.
Tina something special for Christmas, which you did, your son,
Yes,
and the
yes.
ability that
So
she can take such good care of him.
yeah, and I'm excited. I didn't get her this. Our family does Christmas a little different. We do each adult gets one person a gift
Mhm.
so that we can get bigger gifts
Right?
to our family. Um, and then we all get the kids something. But I didn't get her this year, and I was real bummed out because we were going to buy her a cruise. And so I told my husband, I'm like, I'm going to get her next year, and we're going
Oh,
to go on a cruise together. And so actually, I think what we're going to do is we do a memorial thing for my daughter every year.
mhm.
And next year, we're going on a cruise for it. And we're going to take my son. And I thought, I was like, you know what? I could get another room because it's not that much money. Or we could get like a big suite and we could all
Yes.
sleep in the same suite. And then
Yes.
it's not too bad to add two more people to that cruise, And I was like, so I think that's what I'm going to do is I'm going to take her on the cruise with us on the next memorial vacation we have. And I'm really excited about it. I've been talking to my husband about it.
Yeah, that's a beautiful thing to honor your little girl with a memorial cruise like that. I love that.
Yeah. Oh,
I
thank
love
you. We
that. That
do.
gives a lot of parents who have lost a child an idea to make it a
Yeah.
beautiful event, a celebratory event that
Yeah.
you got to at least name her, know her for the time that God
Yeah.
allowed you to.
We do something every year. So we do this year we went to Corpus and last year we went to San Antonio. Um, but we try to do something every year to instead of being at home or the year before, instead of being at home and sad and just wallowing in that sadness,
Right.
we take my son, me and Josh, we take my son and we go do something. So we just go
Yeah.
when we went to San Antonio, we went to like an aquarium and we went to the Legoland and we just went to do a bunch of stuff.
Sierra, it just sounds like the it's just a beautiful story, and I just encourage other listeners get involved like you two have and bless families and we're just glad that you were able to share your story with us. And we're going to put you got to send me those pictures so we can put Mrs.
Yes.
Claus and Santa with the kids at Tier because it's an amazing place.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll send them to you for sure.
I
Thank
love
y'all
it.
for listening. I really
You're
enjoyed it.
welcome. We wish you a very Merry Christmas to your whole family.
And Merry Christmas to y'all too.